All right, let's go find some stuff for Jason to forge together. There's 5 of those. I say we just take them, see what he can do. Here are your materials. Found them outside, laying around.
I know what these are. These are spring clips. These must be discarded ones or whatever. So I'm gonna go with the crustier ones, I think. Just on a guess. That the more pitted they are, maybe the higher carbon content. But we'll make a we'll make a really killer one. A good one, not a bad one. All right, I'll be doing the whole thing with this one little hammer. It's gonna take a while. Just kidding. That's a joke, I'm not doing that. All right, so let's just see. All right, so I'm just gonna see how sparky, how complex the sparks are. This ain't the best way, but it is a way. So this is a piece of mild steel. So you can see the difference between the sparks. So that's pretty simple spark, like 2 or 3 little, explosions off of it. I don't know what you want to call it, but this one's pretty complicated. So you can see that the spark is a lot more complex. That's just one test. It's not a great test, but it is a test. I think I don't know. That one's cool. That one's definitely older. So I'm just gonna take these 2 here. There's moss growing on that one. It's got green moss growing on it. I collect moss. All right. So I think that one of these might be big enough to make the thing I'm thinking, but I'm gonna stretch them both out and we'll see. And if they're not, then I'll forge weld them together. And if they are, then I'll just go with it. So. Okay. Now some tongs. If I can hold it like this, then I'll be able to hold it when it gets hot. So if you don't know what it is, and I think I might know what it is, it all depends on what year they were made. If you don't know what something is, heat it up, let it cool down before you start banging on it too much. So I'll just stretch them out. So I was just thinking about a thing that I want to make with one of these. I think one should be enough. Let's go draw it. Oh, look at there. I didn't have to go that far. Somebody's tearing big sheets of paper out of here. Might have been me. Can't keep up with my cool pencil sharpener. What about I'm not going to try to make this too traditional because I like to interpret things as I like to interpret them. So don't be offended when this ain't as traditional as anybody wants it to be. But I think I should make this concept here fuller. Put a little peak spine on it like that. Maybe make a little curve in it. Maybe do a little very small suba. So, a couple things.
It ain't nothing about this going to be traditional, so I'm not going to say traditional. I was going to say, you know, you could put handle material on. Apocalypse Wakizashi. How long is that? This one got a 14-inch blade on it. 14-inch blade? Maybe we make it a little longer, maybe 16-inch blade. Something like this. Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I gotta be smarter than the tools, which isn't always easy. See what we got here. It's pretty hard under the hammer. Pretty nice chunk of steel, actually. It is very hard under the hammer, so you know what that tells me? Nothing. It's just high carbon steel. A lot of mild steel, or you know, steel that just has no carbon in it is pretty easy to move. It's kind of buttery compared to this. So these were the two most pitted ones, so I'm gonna make a lot of assumptions. I don't really need both of them, but I'm just gonna go ahead just in case I screw up. For bending and unbending, and this is unbending, which would be straightening, I guess. I don't really want to do this too fast because I don't know what it is, and I don't want to tear it or break it, you know. So while that one's getting hot, we'll really figure this one out. It still smells old. I think that being 10 inches from here to here, it's still a ½ inch thick. That'll be the tang side to this weird little thing. This will be the blade side. Good. Fix this one up too. before I do anything else, I'm literally just going to let this thing cool all the way down. That way, it's not a spring clip anymore, or whatever it actually is. I think it's a spring clip. You know, that's what those things are. But I don't really know exactly what they do with them. All I know is they're old enough to have rust and moss growing on them. So I'm just going to let that cool down. And then it'll go back to being a piece of steel, not a spring. It's like if I had a ball bearing, I'd get the ball bearing up to 1800 degrees, let it cool all the way down, and now it's just a piece of steel again. All right. Just gonna let that cool down too. I was very interested at one time in making different samurai swords, but there's a lot of subtleties and it is very difficult. So there's a lot of bladesmiths out there I know who have made almost exact reproductions of them. But I like to make things different, of course. So David Mirable makes one of the coolest ones I've ever seen. Makes a carbon fiber sheath too. So David is a friend of mine. He lives in Alaska. You get a chance, you have to check out David Mirable. So this would make it more like 16 inches. So let's just say I'm going to make the forging, I'm going to make straight, and then I'll curve it how I want it. And I'm not going to water quench these. I'm going to quench them in oil. So I have to curve them the way I want them before I quench them. So definitely monitor. So we'll say they'll be maybe inch and say it's 1.5 inches wide. And then out here, so I want to make the tip longer, so I'll make the tip like that. There's an aesthetic too. The aesthetic makes it look good. What does that mean? So if I have a certain width here, I want it to come down to be a certain more narrow here with a certain length point. Now I'm going to curve it, but I'm going to forge it pretty much straight. And on this part, we'll decide how that's going to be. So it'll taper this way, it'll taper this way, and it'll curve. So imagine this piece being curved like this, and then you get the idea of what we're going to have. So my experience and working with something that was something else, like a ball bearing or a spring, I like to get it where I want it, but then I normalized it basically one time. Just one thermal cycle, no banging, no touching it. I'm just gonna let it cool down. Once it gets below 400 degrees, I'll go back in there and I'll start working the blade on that. Cold shut. I already got a cold shut in there. So I want to grind that little piece right out because I don't want it to turn into a cold shut. And we have, let's see how much material we got here. I have about 12.5 inches, almost 1.5 inches wide, and about 1/2 inch thick. I want to grind that little piece out because I don't want it to be a cold shut. So I'll just grind it out over here. Okay, now let's make our preform. Preform, always the preform. Make my life easier on this part because my tongs are not quite right, so I'm gonna modify this end piece just a wee bit so that I can grab it better with the tongs. So just something to make life easier. Hey, could you quiet down over there, Charlie, please? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Allow me to get a better grip. think we can get busy. I was thinking I might need to weld both of them together, but it's kind of wild how much steel is in, you know, how much steel you actually have. If you pay attention, find out you actually have there's a lot of material in there, a lot of steel. There. Some nonsense going on there. My life taking control of me in ways no one could fathom. That's what I want. So that's where we'll do the handle, that's what we'll do the blade. All right. So on this, what I have is about where the width of the blade is. It's about 70% wider. So I have a 30% reduction, like from the 100% down to 30. So overall, the taper is 70% less as we approach the tip. If that doesn't make sense to you, it's okay. Okay, now we'll start pulling the edge backwards. So I just want everybody to know, I'm not trying to do a traditional I'm not in any way trying to do a traditional Wakizashi here. I'm doing, like I said, the apocalyptic version. This is some scaly stuff right here, boy. Not too terrible. A little bit further. Now, this is nice, huh? This is gonna be pretty badass, I think. I think it'll be pretty dope. thicker right there. Take that piece a little bit more, pull it out. All right, now just smoothing it all out, making it even. Thick and thin spots. I'll go back with the hammer. I'll use some of this. This is one of those dog head hammers. I don't use this a lot for much more than just smoothing. I don't like it for moving steel, but I like it for smoothing steel. So that's what we'll be using for this part. So. Gonna take some turns. Took it nice. I'm happy with the shape. Very much what I wanted. Now I have to commit to making habaki and the guard. All right, now. Oh, this part right back here. We really got to make a decision on how this is going to go. So I can do this very primitive style, no suba, but I could do like a Turk's head knot, an Ito wrap, full tang handle. Very post-apocalyptic Wakizashi. I need to come down just a wee bit more. I'm gonna get that, I'm gonna go back and smooth the forging out, and then we're gonna be done. And then we're gonna start heat treating, and then we'll grind, and then we'll heat treat some more. Nice. It's not looking bad, huh? We're gonna go lower temperatures now. I like that curvature. I think it looks pretty nice. It's nice because you can see if the edge is parallel here. I like the curve in it. I like the shape. Traditionally, you know, you'd quench this in water to get the curve, but I'm not doing this traditionally. I don't really know what this steel is. So we're gonna quench it in the AAA, and I think it's gonna be all right. We shall see. The biggest thing is getting it straight. The longer the blade, the harder it is to get straight. Let's see how it looks. Okay. So we're at 15.5 inches. I'm happy with that. We could go 16, but I think 15.5 is nice.